Alright guys, TacticalRab again today. Hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. So much reaction to the OpTic Texas versus Seattle Surge series of last night, with Shotzzy coming out and saying that the way that he played yesterday, OpTic basically beat Surge in this grudge match 3 versus 4, especially when aBeZy of Seattle Surge, their new rookie, comes out with a few reasons why Surge might have struggled in yesterday's series. Some people are saying fair enough, some people are saying it's excuses from the Seattle Surge camp. Very much tweet your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I greatly appreciate it. These are some of the vibes post-series victory when the Thieves boys as well, they had some issues. They had to set up in the Valorant team's practice room to get this series done. What's interesting though that Shane actually mentioned, of course, assistant coach kind of with JCap in the video, said that we only complained one time in practice this week and guess what, we win 3-0, which is interesting just because we know that last year on OpTic, Ghosty, there was this rumour going around the narrative at the end of the year that Ghosty was a bit annoying to practice with. He'd constantly complain about stuff, and here we go, Shane saying that, oh, we only complained one time in practice and guess what, we win. So just an interesting storyline to keep your eyes on there. I'm sure tonight as well we might get some further update on what's going on with this whole Scump Activision watch party situation. If you guys didn't see yesterday's video, somehow Scump's watch party got nuked down by Activision Blizzard with a copyright claim. Crazy story. We explain the reason why they're not allowed to stream on Twitch and YouTube at all at the same time, regardless of what they're doing on both platforms. And, well, clearly this was causing issues, and Scump got hit with this. I imagine there'll be some further update on this today, but I will say that whatever happens tonight, I almost certainly won't be making a video this evening recapping it. I'm traveling home to visit family today, and, you know, middle of nowhere, not much internet. Okay, there is internet, but it's slow. And I'm with family. I'm probably not going to be up at 2 AM making a recap video on the CDL matches. So if I get really tempted, I might make a community post. But yeah, it's the first time for some time that I won't be doing a video as normally planned. Back to normal service will resume in relatively short order. But yeah, don't expect a video tonight for the first time in a very long time. But of course, I'll be back this time tomorrow. You guys know the drill. You know how it always is. With, I'm sure, plenty of updates because there's always drama here in the CDL. I know that aBeZy was also responding to this whole situation and also kind of implied, how about let's do a flank episode soon? So it'll be interesting to see aBeZy, of course, like OG MLG, Sports Engine guy, his take on this whole matter because he's been saying quite a bit on Twitter. We also saw Bose yesterday came out with this and said, look, Grandma's not getting released until you free OpTic Scump. And Bance is saying, look, not letting Grandma out of the cage until the challenges schedule is announced, which still, we don't know what the situation is on that front. But it will be interesting to see what happens tonight on the whole Scump watch party because, you know, we didn't see any real responses from Scump. We don't know if the claim is going to get revoked. I mean, look, we shared the clip yesterday from Zuma, or at least when Octane said that they'd been informed, do this, that we're telling you not to, and you're going to get bans. Like, that didn't necessarily sound like you're going to get a copyright strike one time and that's going to be it. It's like, well, the lawyers aren't going to be happy with you. So I'm sure they can come to some sort of resolution on this. But yeah, it just feels like such a crazy timeline. And also, as many of you guys are mentioning, at the end of the day, one of the reasons, maybe the main reason why YouTube are able to get, you know, why YouTube want the CDL deal and why the CDL are able to get the money they're getting is because of Scump's numbers, right? I'm sure that when the CDL were pitching this to the YouTube guys and saying, look, we want you to be, you know, give us some money and we'll be exclusive, they were saying, oh, this is our viewership, but this is Scump's viewership, these are Zuma's numbers, and all this stuff. So this is the thing, they're arguably using the leverage of what those guys have achieved from many different years, and now, all of a sudden, you know, they're maybe showing no respect in return. Maybe Scump should have shown some respect the other way. It was a debate that we had last night in quite some detail, but during this whole saga, OpTic Texas actually played a series, and it's a very important one up against the Seattle Surge. Surge undefeated, of course, so far in the season up until this point. OpTic started out 1-1, a very solid first week, but this series really sets themselves up nicely because their 3 series after this are Carolina, Miami, and Vegas in some order or another. They play Carolina tomorrow, and then I think the next time out they play, the next 2 games are Vegas, Miami, I'm pretty sure. So very winnable games. They play FaZe, their final map as well, or final series, just before they go into Major 1. So a very important time to play some of the best Call of Duty we've seen from them so far. A few of you guys are mentioning this to me as well, that aBeZy at some point in the Search and Destroy, when Shotzzy, before he clutched the 1v1, was down to 0 HP, which I'm surely it must be a visual bug here on the Codcaster, because you would think that the game is coded, that if you go to 0 HP, you die. But maybe not the case here. But I don't think I've ever seen this before. Lots of you guys pointed it out to me, so I thought I'd at least mention it. in the end of the day, it didn't massively matter because Shotzzy clutched the 1v1 anyway, but it was definitely a strange situation. It's also kind of funny because Shotzzy's about to say in a second that he basically did nothing this series, but he did ace up in the final round of the Search and Destroy. So he did something, but maybe not as much as you might expect him to do. Pred, though, was doing most of the damage, and I talked about this on the Dope Check episode 2 we did yesterday with Ace on the Breaking Point channel. My prediction was Pred was going to come out and show Surge. Yeah, there's a few things here, right? Pred versus his former team is one. Now, it's interesting in the sense that there's nobody left on Surge, apart from the ownership, I guess, that's the same as when Pred was there. All the players are different, the coaching staff is different, so it's not quite the same. But still, Pred was probably frustrated, understandably, that he was not let go of Surge last year to join OpTic when he potentially could have been. So, I don't know if there was part of him, like, taking his frustration out here, but Pred was slamming him this series, and also wanted to prove to Hook in some ways, like, why he's picked up instead. You guys know how the storylines went for yesterday's series, but Pred absolutely slammed them, and it really shouldn't be a massive surprise. This guy has been, his first series was a bit up and down, I guess, against the Subliners, but since then, he's been basically on fire for the last couple of series they've played, and it's very impressive to say. I mean, I'm pretty sure every map they've played for the last 2 series, Pred's gone positive, and we'll see actually some of the numbers for that here in a second. Now, as Shotzzy says, because sometimes you hear players say, oh, I was everything that series, or I was everything on the map, like, I was doing it all. Shotzzy says, I was nothing that series. Gas the team, they went crazy today, and I'll share you guys, what Shotzzy had to say on this in the post-game interview here in a second, and there were some memes like this flying around. I didn't do anything today. I'm sure this one is going to, I mean, look, I've already saved this to the hard drive. This is going to get ready to be used at some point in the season for Shotzzy or various other players when whatever might potentially be happening. So I'll share the post-game interview here where Shotzzy has to say what he says about, frankly, just dominating Surge in a manner that was apparently 4 versus 3.
It feels good. Honestly, that entire series, I was not honestly doing much, which is... I guess not. Well, yeah, I wasn't really doing much. My teammates were honestly just doing everything. I felt like we played really good in terms of our fundamentals, and that's what just kept us throughout the series. And obviously winning the search was huge for us. But yeah, I didn't do anything today. Honestly, they just won 4-3. So shout out to my teammates.
You didn't need to do anything today. You did everything last series.
It felt like I did nothing. I might have done something, but it literally felt like I did.
You contributed a little bit.
I promise you did something. You did something on the map, Shotzzy. Listen, what has it been like for you having Pred and Kenny now on the team? What has like the OpTic vibe been like adding those 2 new additions?
Yeah, Ken he's in terms of like the way he thinks about the game is so identical to me, so I feel like that helps just like the way that our team chem is right now. And yeah, we're kind of just building off it, and then obviously having AG as my sub duo, he's kind of just picking up the cuts that are just annoying to play, and I know how it is playing against him, so the fact that he's on my team now is just I don't have to worry about that. So I mean, I kind of just do make sure I'm rotating all that good stuff on this team, and yeah, I feel like our chem is slowly getting there.
So I imagine Shotzzy didn't really necessarily mean it as it sounds, but it does kind of sound that he's ragging on Surge, right? Because he's saying, look, I did nothing today. The boys carried me. And I think really what he was, he was mainly trying to gas up his teammate, right? Saying, wow, they absolutely fried today. But it's also at the same time a bit of a dig at Surge, right? Because you're saying, like, I didn't really do anything today. I could have played much better. And yet we still slammed them. Okay, they're beaten 3-1. It wasn't, like, dominant by any means. But the final hard point was very impressive. The first comeback in the first hard point was very impressive. The Search and Destroy was very comfortable, to be honest. So, especially against a team like Surge, which is, I would say they're top 5, top 6 right now, probably top 5. Not sure Surge are quite on the level of FaZe and OpTic, but I would be very intrigued to see how they get on tonight against FaZe, because if FaZe smoke them today, then FaZe make a bit of a statement. But if it's a more competitive series, then it actually makes things very interesting between how OpTic and FaZe might go when they play each other in a couple of weeks' time. These were the numbers, though. A 3-1 series victory. These were, if you guys didn't see yesterday's series, these were the overall map counts and stuff. eLLi had a great series as well. His control especially was spectacular. I expected eLLi to turn up, right? Because, look, he's playing his former team. That's really what's to happen. Hook had a bit of a hard time and Pred slammed them, right? 1.32, most damage, most damage in, well, actually, no, not quite most damage in the lobby. eLLi had him done by 8, but most damage on his team. Dashy had a 1.3 and a pretty, quiet 1.3 at that. But I said this, right? I mean, Dashy, his first series against the Subliners dropped like a 0.8 or something, 0.87 or whatever it was, and I was like, okay, I'm not expecting Dashy to have a series like that very often, and since then he's dropped back-to-back 1.2s. So it is what it is. Shotzzy had a 0.8, by the way, 52 kills. He's probably right. He didn't do much, didn't draw much damage, least damage in the lobby. Was it 3v4? No. Did he ace the final round of the Search and Destroy to win it for the team? Yes, but still, OpTic kind of won the series with Pred just slaying out big time. I think is also a bit of, you know, it's not exactly all good for OpTic in the sense that you want Pred and Shotzzy both playing well at the same time, and there has always been questions as to, right, when Pred's doing this, what's Shotzzy doing, getting the chemistry from an SMG side. Big question before the season, right? How's the chemistry going to work from an SMG perspective between Pred and Shotzzy? My perception has always been it doesn't really matter because they're so good that, like, they're going to find a way to make it work. But I don't think they've nailed that down yet. And as Shotzzy said, there's still things they've got to improve on. They're slowly getting better. But if they can get Pred and Shotzzy both firing at the same time, that's a pretty scary sign. But have a look at this. The last 2 series Pred has played, he's been positive all the 8 maps they've played, 2 series win streak, of course, and his numbers are a 1.33 overall, 1.34 in Harp, and 1.3 in Search, 1.33 in Control. So yeah, this is just what Pred did last year. So is it a massive surprise that he's doing it again? Probably not. But for people that said that Pred wasn't a good idea for OpTic, like, I think that it's early days, and it's all early days for all of these teams. It's the same that people say, oh, well, Subliners definitely a proven right to drop Priestahh because he's now getting kind of slammed on Boston. You know, it's early to say. At the end of the day, that team was a World Championship winning team and won 3 events. Subliners are 2-0 in online league matches. Like, I think we need a bit more time to make judgments on these teams, but I have no doubt that getting Pred was the right move, and as JP Krez says, they're making improvements in the games. There was also, though, some other drama in a way on the Seattle Surge side. Now, RCTs is too smart to come up with any of these games or any of these excuses or whatever. And he says, GG's OpTic, they outplayed us, didn't want to say anymore. aBeZy, though, rookie player, comes out with a different tweet and says, everything is against us, but play well OpTic, lose 3-1. So hashtag drown them out. So people are, of course, like, oh, excuses, what do you mean everything is against us, like, and all this stuff? Because, you know, other teams say the same thing, you know, maybe they're unwell or whatever's happening. And if you win, it's like, oh, well, we won despite this. And if you lose, people say it's excuses. It is what it is. But RCTs is, you know, he's been around long enough to know that whatever might be happening behind the scenes, don't mention it or people will just roast you for it. So that's what aBeZy walks into. I'm not trying to find excuses. They play well, but we have 2 people sick, so I don't know who, but 2 people unwell on the team. Maybe not himself, just because he's not referring to that. So maybe it was RCTs and Hook, who knows? Maybe we could tell in the listenings if we go back and listen. And during the first map, the office fire alarm went off for 5 minutes. Now, what I want to know here is, when did it go off? Like, because you guys probably remember, they had a massive lead map 1, and then they got big time comeback on. So if it was during the comeback, and maybe they couldn't fully hear comms, or they were, you know, slightly distracted, maybe that's somewhat valid. But if it was in the first 5 minutes of the game, then, you know, they were slamming OpTic during those 5 minutes. So, like, I don't really know on this one. It's just, this is the thing, right? If anybody loses and says something, especially against OpTic, it's going to be called excuses, and aBeZy will probably learn in due course to simply avoid all these complications and, you know, not necessarily say this in the future. I also wanted to mention, though, that this is a crazy stat, that OpTic have made the grand finals of the first tourney every time they've brought in 2 new players, or a new duo, I suppose, in the off-season. Columbus 2014, Vegas 2019, Major 1 2022, and then, well, the same story is going to come up soon. So I don't know if that says anything, but OpTic, when they've made a couple of tweaks to their roster, tend to do very well early on, and, well, it's setting up potentially for success on this one yet again. Now, before we close out, of course, I've got to mention that the matches that, as I say, I won't be making a video on this evening, more than likely, unless I go absolutely insane. Interesting games, definitely. I mean, Rocker need a victory on the board, really, at this point, but Miami are looking good. Miami are definitely the favourites here. They're 2-0. They beat Legion. Legion beat Rocker the other day. That says something. Subliners Vegas is interesting. I mean, we'll see if Legion can continue their matter of just throwing away series, but I think obviously Subliners should be favourites. Ravens versus Toronto is the whole Scrappy versus Clayster thing. I would love to see Clay beat him somehow, but I just don't think it's going to happen. Like, I think Scrappy's going to come through and slam these guys. Like, Toronto are looking really good right now, and Ravens have some questions to be answered. And then FaZe Surge. This is a really interesting series. I'd love to see Surge bounce back from yesterday and somehow win a Game 5 here, but it's just tough to predict that to be the case, really, when you look at how good FaZe are. And also now that aBeZy is saying that a couple of them are unwell, maybe they've already got in their heads that, you know, it's all against us this week. We play OpTic and FaZe back to back. Like, it ain't looking good. We'll go again after Christmas type thing. But very much intrigued to your thoughts on all this in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care. And I'll see you next time.